السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. أما بعد. All praise is due to Allah, who created man from clay, the master and owner of Judgment Day. Allah, who knows what we conceal and knows what we reveal, and what leaves may fall and what the animals feel. And upon His Messenger we ask His salah and His praise, and we ask to remain steadfast until the end of our days. Amma ba'd, we're supposed to speak about the forbidden love, and I don't know why I was given this lecture, and in retrospect I now regret it. But when we say the forbidden love, obviously we're talking about the forbidden type, but which one is the one that is forbidden? And definitely you know the answer. It would be a love relationship that is outside of marriage. And the reason being is that Islam came to protect your chastity. It came to protect the lineage of people. And it came also to prevent zina, which are illicit sexual relations between a man and a woman. And the ill effects of a sexually loose society are many. And if you ever study what are the effects of having a society that's sexually loose, you'll find so many things directly and indirectly related to the society being loose in that sense. From crime, it can be related to zina, con men in the society, serial killers. If you study the life of serial killers, you'll find most of them were children of zina, who their mothers were young and they didn't bond with them. Ted Bundy, a famous example, and others. You can also link homosexuality to having a sexually loose society. And more zina is linked to zina. A statistic says that 82% of teenage mothers are themselves the daughters of teenage mothers. 82%. So all these issues come from zina, and zina obviously is part of it's a relationship outside of marriage, and it's a forbidden relationship. So then the question is Islam against love? Because many people don't hear many lectures about love in Islam or romance in Islam, and they don't hear much about love in Islam. So I remind you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of His names is Al-Wadud, the loving, and the one that is beloved also. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala many times in the Qur'an tell us the types of people that He loves. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ التَّوَّابِينَ وَيُحِبُّ الْمُتَطَهِّرِينَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِهِ صَفًّا وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الْوَدُودُ. So many times Allah will mention the types of people that He loves, and He will mention love and how He is loved by His servants. And those of you who have studied in worship, you may have encountered something called the 3 pillars of worship, which is love, hope, and fear. What drives you to worship? Part of it is fear of the punishment, part of it is hope in Allah's mercy, but then, as the scholars describe it, like a bird, the body of that bird, if the wings to keep it balanced are love and fear, the body of the bird is the love, hope and fear, the wings. The body of the bird is the love that drives you forward. So loving Allah Azza wa Jal and worshipping Him out of love is part of it as well. So there is a lot of love in Islam, whether or not you have sat at a lecture where it was just about love. The Prophet ﷺ was a very loving person and also very romantic. A lot of people think that to be religious you have to be dry and emotionally distant and just frowning, and that's the mark of a good religious person. You see a good religious brother who's like this. Assalamu alaikum, alhamdulillah, Allah barak fi. This is a good, serious, mashallah, good religious brother. But no. And there's nothing shameful about love. Contemplate the hadith of Amr ibn al-As when he came to ask the Prophet ﷺ, which of the people is most beloved to you? Now if I ask you this question, which of the people is most beloved to you? And I'm talking outside your family, what will you say? Oh, Sheikh so-and-so. Who will just immediately run and say, my wife? But the Prophet ﷺ, when Amr ibn al-As asked him, who is the most beloved to you of people? Immediately he says, Aisha. So Amr ibn al-As had to clarify, well, I was talking about men, not women. So the Prophet ﷺ is not ashamed to say that he loves his wife in public. And the Prophet ﷺ had excellent love for Khadija radiallahu anha that remained even after her death, even years after her death. He loved her so much that he would honor her friends and her relatives years after her death. He would present them with gifts. If he slaughtered, he would give part to them. And Aisha radiallahu anha said she had never been jealous of anyone as much as she was jealous of Khadija radiallahu anha, who died many years before her. And the Prophet ﷺ also would mention about loving children, where when he kissed a child and the man asked him, he said, "You kiss children? I have so many kids and I've never kissed one of them." And the Prophet ﷺ tells him, "What can I do for you if Allah has taken mercy out of your heart?" So there's a lot of love. And in the hadith recorded in Sahih al-Jami', the Prophet ﷺ said, "There is nothing better for two who love one another than marriage." The two who love one another, the best thing for them is to get married. So it does acknowledge that there can be love, and then it gives you a solution for it, which is the marriage. It recognizes that. So then what does the forbidden love do? It causes zina. It causes people to lose their religion. And it also replaces the love of Allah with the love of that individual. So now someone is probably saying, great, now our favorite thing, love, now they're telling us forbidden as well. And how are we supposed to get married? No love, how are we going to get married here? So let me ask you a question. Which do you think of these two groups I'm about to mention, which is the more successful type of marriage? The type of marriage where people fell in love before getting married, or the type of love where people fell in love after marriage? Who thinks the more successful one is, well, don't be shy, yani. If you fell in love before marriage, this is a more successful marriage. Okay, so we have 3 brothers and just 1 sister on this side. Okay, 4 brothers now. And 50 who are like, no. Okay, so, and who thinks that? Obviously the rest, I will assume, they think that the other type, where the love happens after marriage, is the more successful, and you are correct. So contrary to what we think, you fall in love first, chocolates, flowers, roses, then you get married, nice happy life. But statistics will tell you that those who fell in love after marriage, that's the more successful type of wedding. So let me ask you one more. Do you think which is the type of marriage that's more successful? The one where you find your own spouse, or the one where your best friend's wife hooks you up with some other sister, or your mother or your sister hooks you up with someone? Who says the first type, where you find your own spouse? Put your hand up. Okay. And who says the second? And who has no clue what we're talking about? Okay. And the truth is, the second type, where someone hooks you up with someone, where there's a hookup. They tell you this person, that person, and then this is the more successful type of marriage. So it goes contrary to what we usually think. And why is it that it's usually the opposite? Because we live in a world of exaggerated romance. And coming from Sudan, being very unromantic myself, I'm the right person to speak about exaggerated romance. Everything is full of so much romance. And by the way, there are studies by Western scholars on this issue, that it's too much and it's unrealistic, the type of romance we hear about. In the movies, it's exaggerated romance. In the books, the romantic novels, with the guy with the long hair, on the cover, exaggerated. And in the music, and of course music, not only does it exaggerate romance, but most of the time it's praising. When music talks about love, is it talking about the wife? When Puff Diddy talks about I love you, is he talking about his wife? He's talking about some foreign woman. They're always talking about zina, mostly, fornication. So, the exaggerated romance is what makes now people have this unrealistic view in their head. It's all this stuff we're talking about, that you had me at hello type of stuff. The soulmates kind of action. The prince that will sweep you off your feet. All of this is just exaggerated romance. And it's unrealistic, and it makes people live in this type of dream world, where this is their expectation for their marriage. It could be something as unromantic as a brother bringing his father with a broken accent, and they're sitting and they're talking to your father who has a broken accent, or we want your son to marry our daughter. That's it. No flowers, no roses, no prince on a white horse. Khalas. But it might be a very nice relationship after that. طيب. So there are so many problems that are caused by love relationships that are outside of marriage. The least of them is the person becomes a zombie who can't think about anything but the person that they're in love with. I know one brother who had a famous love story in our area. He was in love with this sister for 3 years. We were at the ISNA convention some years ago. We prayed After the salah, after the taslim, he tells me, wallahi, during the whole prayer, I'm just thinking of her. So now, okay, no focus on salah, forget about Allah, just all he's thinking about is the sister, the sister, the sister, the sister. So this is the worst case, the least case is that you'll just become like that, a mindless zombie. You can't think straight. But the reality is we have so many horror stories when it comes to love relationships, and if these stories were about people who didn't pray and things of that sort, it wouldn't be scary. But the reality is many of the people we consider to be good brothers and sisters have fallen into